Hey everyone, and welcome to the Dota 2 Builds of the Week, the weekly series where I show you guys top 5 meta builds to help you get started with new heroes in Dota 2. As always, the link to my Twitch is down in the description below, as is a link to each of the builds we're talking about today. And actually, the website, the Steam Workshop website, has a new feature where you can actually subscribe to all my guides with one click. So it's pretty interesting, pretty cool, and I'll be continuously updating the guides for the new meta. With that being said, let's talk about Position 1 Terrorblade. Now, we've never talked about Terrorblade in this series yet because he is a challenging hero to play. The realistic truth about Terrorblade is that he is not particularly beginner friendly, but if you're a core player and you're looking to really push yourself to the next level, he's a great option. And it's just be warned that he has like a high degree of complexity to him, specifically on the way you farm with him, because you're using illusions in order to farm multiple parts of the map. Let's talk about his build. Now, as I said, he does have some inherent complexity to him. It's a challenging hero to play, so if you are new to Dota and you want to challenge yourself, he's the guy. First off, it's worth noting that Metamorphosis was buffed in the latest patch. That is why you're seeing a resurgence of Terrorblade, from the get-go. You're also seeing a value point of Reflection in order to kind of do, as much harassment damage as possible. It's a good value point. It has a 5-second duration, so it's a great value point at level 2, especially during the laning stage. And then you're focusing in on 1 extra point of Metamorphosis and then Conjure Image. The reason why you're focusing in on Conjure Image is because not only are you increasing the amount of damage that they're doing, but you got to bear in mind that the mana cost also increases as well, and that's why you're seeing current pros building a Ring of Basilius that coincides with the focus on Conjure Image. So in the actual laning stage, and also you should mention that the talents here are focused around additional health, Conjure Image, which benefits the images themselves, and an increased Metamorphosis duration. Now, for the laning stage itself, you are taking a stick with tons of stats. Now, I know you're not building a Wraith Band or anything like that. This is one of those things that this hero does not particularly do. If you want to build one Wraith Band, you can, but he's not like other heroes where you might build 2. Regardless, you're going right into Power Treads into a Magic Wand. The Magic Wand's important because Terrorblade has very little regeneration naturally in terms of his mana. He also is very capable, kind of susceptible to being bursted down. That is one of the things that Terrorblade struggles with. If he is bursted with magical damage, he can die rather quickly, although he has high physical armor, which helps him from physical damage. But the stick helps you to essentially kind of withstand bursts of magical damage. The Ring of Basilius allows you to farm better with Conjure Image, which has a 16-second cooldown, but a high mana cost at 55 to 85, and you'll be sure to bring clarities with you as well. Dragonlance is great because not only is it good natural stats, but when you're in Metamorphosis, it helps you to increase your attack range, which is super valuable. Then you go Manta. Now, with Manta and your Conjure Images, you'll be able to split push incredibly. It's what Terrorblade does. You're able to send Manta illusions in one lane, Conjure Images into another lane, and you're able to farm safer parts of the map, like your triangle or your jungle or whatever it happens to be. Moreover, Scotty is when you really want to start fighting. Once you finish your Scotty, you're ready to go. With your Scotty, Dragonlance, and Manta, it becomes a situation where with your Metamorphosis, you're able to kind of get on top of people and then right-click them very effectively from range, utilizing the extra range from Dragonlance and the slow from Scotty. From there, BKB, the reason for BKB is, once again, we talked about how he is susceptible to Magical Burst, and you do not want to get controlled as a Terrorblade. He also has, this is important to note as well, it's unique because his images can be you can tell his images apart from the real Terrorblade. He's unique in that sense. Like other illusion heroes, you often can't tell who the real one is, but with Terrorblade, you can. Finally, you finish the build with a Swift Blink. This is being oftenly built so that you can kind of jump in with Metamorphosis, get a preferred positioning on enemy targets, and burst them with the increased amount of kind of the Swift Blink effect. And you have a bunch of variety other items as well. But regardless, Terrorblade, he is conceptually difficult to play, but if you're looking to challenge yourself at position 1, he's definitely worth checking out right now. In position 2 mid, Leshrac continues to be a very viable choice for players of all skill levels. Whether you're brand new to Dota or you are an experienced player, Leshrac represents a hero that has, while a very straightforward learning curve, capabilities of single-handedly carrying a game from the mid position. He has seen some minor changes in Lightning Storm being rescaled and buffed with additional targets, which allows him to utilize it during the laning stage to more effective use. With that being said, Split Earth continues to be one of the most effective stuns in the game when paired with something like a Yule's Scepter or a Rod of Vados. You don't see many Rod of Adoses on Leshrac, but the Yule Scepter combo into the Split Earth is incredibly valuable. And of course, Zag's Shard, which is fantastic as well. Let's talk about the specific build. Now, what you're seeing here is this, you're seeing pros currently building 1 value point into Split Earth, and then you're taking 2 points of Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm was changed, the damage was rescaled, but the additional target allows you to use it with better effectiveness during the laning stage. Why? Because the additional target makes sure that you essentially hit the range creep in addition to the hero, because if you had a full creep wave and you used it prior, there's a chance that, you know, you'd miss the range creep. So now this allows you to be more reliable with Lightning Storm during the laning phase. From there, you are focusing on Split Earth, finishing it at level 7. You're taking Pulse Nova at 6, and then you're going right through Diabolic Edict. The reason for this is because you want to be able to then start roaming and taking towers. You want to take all the tier 1s around this time, and you know, Diabolic Edict allows you to do that. Now, the build that is being done right now essentially revolves around being mobile and also doing as much damage as possible. There's a couple things I want you to know about the talent tree. First of all, the Split Earth Radius works wonderfully with the Aghanim Shard, so if you want to build a shard, it's very useful to get the Split Earth Radius. However, if you do not intend on getting the shard, you can take the mana regeneration at level 10. It's also worth noting that while movement speed is by far one of the best stats in the game, going this particular build with the amount of lifesteal amplification you have, it's also valuable to consider at level 15 the additional Lightning Storm damage, because that will obviously fit into the amount of lifesteal that you can do. The current build is as follows. You're rushing your bottle 1 nulls, you're going Arcane Boots into Hood of Defiance, into a Yule Scepter. This allows you to be a little tankier during you know, your early rotations, and this Yule Scepter allows you to combo the Yule Scepter with Split Earth. And then you're going the Eternal Shroud, which was just buffed. You get additional magic resistance, and you get the spell lifesteal. But not only that, any damage that you take from, any magical damage that you take is converted into mana. And that's exactly what Leshrac wants. You want to get in there, and while you're healing yourself with your Pulse Nova, your Lightning Storm, and basically all your other spells, you're also going to be replenishing mana as you're getting attacked, right? So that is why Eternal Shroud is excellent on someone like Leshrac. And then you have Coccia Sange. It's just a great stat item. It allows you to amplify the amount of spell damage you're doing. It's amplifying your spell steal. It's amplifying your regeneration. It's giving you stat resistance. Like, these are all things that Leshrac wants. And then finally, the new Bloodstone, which once again has spell lifesteal, a ton of HP, a ton of mana. It's everything Leshrac wants. And then once you have these 3 items together, you become essentially unkillable, and then you finish it off with your bots. You have some situational items as well. BKB is a great choice as well if you're getting stun locked and stuff like that. You'd probably want to build the BKB before the Bloodstone in that case, or even, you know, you could even build it before you know, Coccia Sange. But regardless, Leshrac mid, a really viable option in the current meta. In the offlane, Dawnbreaker remains a very interesting case after the latest changes on the patch. Although you saw strength gain reduced, you saw changes to luminosity which allowed it to scale better into the late game. Now, what's interesting about this is that the last time we took a look at Dawnbreaker, she was being played as a position 4 support, and now she's being tested as a position 3 offlaner. And what's interesting about this is that the build seems to be relatively figured out by now, and although there will be some shifts and some changes, she's seeing a lot of play in the offlane and has a very high win rate. And I think during the DPC, you're going to continue seeing her picked. So let's talk about the build and how it works. Essentially, what you're doing is you're taking a value point in Starbreaker, and then you're taking points into Celestial Hammer. Celestial Hammer is great because it allows you to clear the waves, push the wave in, and allow your support to do stacked pulls. You're also taking a value point in Luminosity, simply because it's just too good. That's a value point to pass up. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be getting Celestial Hammer, you can push the wave in, you can be doing a lot of harass, you can use it to secure kills, right? And you want that value point in Starbreaker, of course. You are taking stats up front as much as you can as a strength hero. You're doing Bracer into Magic Wand. You absolutely need a Magic Wand on a Dawnbreaker. Do not skip this. I've watched some, like, you know, new player streams and stuff like that, and I've talked to a lot of new players on Discord, and they often talk about how they skip wand, like they don't really see the value in it. But remember, as a hero like Dawnbreaker, when you are an initiator, when you're in the fight, you're right in the middle, you're the offlaner, you're a tank, you're taking so much damage. This Magic Wand is a ton of recurring healing, okay? You can use it over and over and over again during the course of the game to help you survive. Soul Ring, use it more sparingly than most heroes. Use it when you want to secure kill or you really need that extra mana. She doesn't have the health regen of like a Underlord with a Vanguard or something like that, so be very cautious the way you use Soul Ring. Into Phase Boots, it has everything she needs. It gives her the movement speed, the phased movement speed, and armor, of course. Now, what's interesting is the current build is a right-click centric build from the offlane. You're going Echo Saber, which gives her the mana regeneration, that double strike, which is extremely useful with the slow, which helps you to kind of proc your luminosity, and can then be used in conjunction with Dawnbreaker, because when you're slowed, you're on top of them, and then it's harder for them to move away from Dawnbreaker. You are going your Shard, which again improves Dawnbreaker, gives you spell immunity, and then BKB, because as a Dawnbreaker, you're initiating fights, you're being very mobile. Actually, I gotta correct myself. I'm saying that you're initiating fights. You kind of do, but in some ways, Dawnbreaker is one of those heroes that is very responsive because of the way the ult works. So if you have like a position 2 that's initiating the fight and you initiate on top of them, right, it kind of requires a little bit of a correction, right? She's often a hero that goes in second, not first, but regardless, you kind of understand what I mean. And then the current build finishes off with a Wraith Pact. Despite the changes to the model size and the bounty and stuff like that, Wraith Pact continues to be a very good choice in the current meta. You have a bunch of different options as well. Halberd, fantastic item for someone like a Dawnbreaker 3. Crimson Guard, which got buffed. Pipe of Insight, always useful in those niche games. If you need a vessel, you need a vessel. Even if your position 4 won't build it, build it. And then Basher is interesting as well, because especially when you have an Echo Saber, you're getting on top of someone, you got that bash, right? She does not have any natural, well, she does have a stun, but Dawnbreaker's stun can be a little unreliable. So you have a more reliable Skull Basher stun, especially when you consider that you are building right clicks here. Luminosity, multiple talents, Dawnbreaker charges here. So it's a pretty interesting build, and I'll continue to monitor it because, as with all new builds and all new metas, things continue to shift. Alright, so I'm really excited about this one because position 4 Zeus has been one of the ones that I've been testing frequently on stream in front of an audience, and we've been having a lot of fun with him. He is so strong right now, and literally from the position 4, you will lead in hero damage, you will lead in damage, like you will do so much for your team. You're an incredible high ground defense. You're almost never out of the game with Zeus, as long as you can cope with what is a quite awkward laning stage, to be honest with you. But as position 4, you could roam a little bit, you can have some burst potential with lightning bolt with your lane mate. But regardless, let's talk about it. So this is the current build being utilized on Zeus position 4 support. Now the talent build is focusing in on lightning bolt. Why? Because the amount of damage you do is very rapidly increasing for a very minor change in mana cost. It also has a very low cooldown. One thing you need to be aware of, though, is that you want to be able to kind of cover lanes with arc lightning. So if you find a situation where this lane isn't going particularly well, your mid is rotating out very often, you're taking over mid, you're rotating the mid a lot, you're dealing with a lot of creeps, you might want to stop leveling lightning bolt and focus in on the arc lightning so you could push the waves under the enemy tower more effectively. Because that's the nice thing as position 4 Zeus, if your mid starts to roam, you could cover that mid lane very effectively with arc lightning, right? So bear that in mind. You definitely do want a value point in Heavenly Jump, which basically acts as not only as an escape for you, but if you have kill potential on an enemy, that 1.5 second slow is actually really super valuable as well. Of course, level 6, you're taking Thunder God's Wrath. Now, one thing I will warn is that you will be buying lots of clarities. Mangoes will be coming out every once in a while, especially when you have Thunder God's Wrath, because you want to mango up in order to kind of use your Thunder God's Wrath in the event that there's a kill available, and if you don't have enough mana, you're just kind of screwed. But you are doing a Null Talisman, 1 Null Talisman. I've been testing 2, it kind of feels lackluster. Null Talisman into Veil of Discord. The reason why you're taking Veil of Discord, it provides you with a lot of mana regeneration and your allies, but it also gives you the increased spell damage. Remember, you are a position 4, so you will have a position 3, 2, and 1 that are also doing as much damage as they can as well. So if you can amplify your team while also amplifying yourself, there's a lot of value there, and that's what position 4 Zeus is doing. You are support. From there, Arcane Boots, and what's interesting about this is that you're not actually ever disassembling the Arcane Boots into an Aether Lens. You can ultimately disassemble them if you want to go to an Octarine Core, but you need the mana. I did a ton of practice games, and under no circumstances was I ever in a position, as a Zeus position 4, where I could disassemble my Arcane Boots without having severe mana issues. You need the Arcane Boots. Magic Wand, right? We started with a stick. We finish our Magic Wand. You need it all game. If you get gone on, you need that burst of HP. Moreover, the Aghanim Shard is an absolutely must purchase at exactly 15 minutes or as close to as possible. It is going to be, this shard is more damage than every other spell in the game. It's more damage than your Arc Lightning. It's more damage than your Lightning Bolt. It's more damage than Thunder God's Wrath. It'll lead in damage at the end of the game. You have to get it at 15 minutes. It's a must add. You have to. Do not skip this. If you don't have enough money for your wand, you hold off on the wand, you get this. Okay, if you don't have boots yet, you got to get the boots first. If you're building an Aether Lens, you get this first. You absolutely have to get this as close to 15 minutes. And look at the stats sheet at the end of the game. Look at your performance tab. Look how much damage Static Field is doing from your Aghanim Shard. It's going to be the most of all of your abilities. You have to get it at 15 minutes, okay? I think I've made myself very clear there. Then you have your Aether Lens. You need to be back. You need to be safe, right? You need a better cast distance. Then, of course, Nimbus, one of the best Aghanim Scepters in the game. It's free vision. It's free push. It's a good team fight skill. It's just damn good. I should mention as well, I did do a complete beginner's guide on Zeus. So if you're trying to learn him from scratch, whether you're playing mid or support, I'll link it up above. And then from optional items, right, you can eventually disassemble your Arcane Boots to build an Octarine Core. Then you'll have brown boots, and you can go Boots of Travel. The Boots of Travel are not only helpful for you to like TP to lanes, TP back to base, but the extra movement speed is super valuable for Zeus because he needs to like be positioned and mobile in order to make sure that he's safe. And then you have the classic Refresher Orb, you know, Thunder God's Wrath, Refresher Orb, Thunder God's Wrath, and actually you're supposed to throw Nimbus in there as well. The other key thing about Thunder God's Wrath, I should mention if you're brand new to Zeus, is that as a position 4, don't hold it to kill steal. Like, don't hold your Thunder God's Wrath to be like, oh, that guy's almost dead. Hit R. No. What you're going to want to do is in the early stage of the game, you hold Thunder God's Wrath in order to, okay, so, oh, that guy's getting away, and my carry's not going to be able to kill him. I press R, he dies. In the mid and late game, you're kind of doing that still, but what you're actually focusing it on is like the scouting part, okay? You don't know where the enemies are. You need vision. Press R. Now you have full vision on the map. You know exactly where they are. Oh, they're ganking. They're making a move. Oh, this guy's by himself. It gives you a ton of information. And in the late game, you almost exclusively use it for information. Mainly, if there's a big team fight about to happen, press R just before the team fight happens. Why? It cancels blink daggers. It gives your team vision. It allows your team to initiate with that added vision of Thunder God's Wrath. So that is how you want to use the skill. Do not use it to kill steal. Do not use it to kill steal, especially in the later parts of the game. Use it as recon. Use it as vision. Use it in order to initiate team fights with vision, okay? That is how you use Thunder God's Wrath, and if you do that, you'll find success with Zeus 4. Crystal Maiden might be weaker than a creep, but you know what? She got a few buffs which made her very viable, and a lot of people are interested in Crystal Maiden now. Although she had her strength reduced to the point that a melee creep will actually solo her at level 1, she has seen some changes with regards to how her skills function, including an increased cast range on Frostbite and an increased duration on the slows for Crystal Nova. However, what I'm interested in seeing here is that there hasn't been too much of a change in the way CM's being played. You were seeing this like tanky kind of initiation build using her shard, and that has kind of shifted slightly, but it looks like people are still experimenting with Crystal Maiden. But what has not changed is that she hasn't become a like backline caster like some people kind of expected. You're not building Aether Lens. You could, but you're not really doing it that way. This is what you're doing. Essentially, the way the build works is you are taking Crystal Nova as a value point in Frostbite, and a value point in Arcane Aura as well. You're bringing lots of regen to the lane. If you are a Crystal Maiden player, you'll know that you actually are extremely strong during the laning stage. Do not underestimate your ability to get kills in the laning stage. Use your abilities, do as much damage as you can, and use your resources. And what you're going to be focusing in on here is you are taking health, and then you're taking some kind of value-added talents here. But the key thing is you want to start with a stick, because you're going to be a kind of frontliner a little bit. Because what you're doing is you are building your Tranquil Boots into Soul Ring. The Soul Ring's great because it gives you extra armor. It gives you a ton of HP through your strength. But also you can proc your Soul Ring in order to gain your mana, while your Tranquil Boots, continues to actually regenerate your health. So your Tranquil Boots offset your Soul Ring, which is great. Eventually, you won't need Soul Ring because you have enough mana regeneration, but in the early game, you want to be spamming your abilities, especially at level 4 and 5, where Crystal Nova is going to be hammering the enemy, okay? From there, you are building drums. into Force Staff, could be Glimmer, whatever you want, like kind of like a defensive team item, could even be E-Blade. Not E-Blade, sorry. It should not be Ghost Scepter this early, but you're going to be focusing on Force Staff or Glimmer in this position here. And then once you're almost out of charges, you end up finishing your Bongo Boots, and then you start to do what CM loves to do. You essentially get your shard, you Bongo Boots, and then you ult. Or sorry, so you ult and Bongo Boots with your shard, and you basically run in, doing your ult damage while your entire team's under the impact of the Boots of Bearing. You also get you know, the 1.5 seconds of immune to slow, so you're not slowed by your shard. You basically run super fast with your ultimate just raining down on the enemies, and then you slow down, cast all your abilities, and then you follow it up with BKB so they can't even stun you while you're doing this. Okay, this is how CM's being played right now. So essentially, laning stage, taking some regen. You're going, your main kind of early stage is Tranquil Boots into Soul Ring with a magic wand. And then the mid game is you're doing Drums of Endurance, Force Staff into Boots of Bearing. And then you're ending it with your Shard and BKB. And with that, you have the Crystal Maiden build. And if you still have this and the game's still running, the best item is probably to get a Blink Dagger, so that you can Blink Initiate with your BKB. I'd put this here, but it's very unlikely. You probably don't even get to the point of finishing BKB in most games, especially considering that the Bongo Boots are expensive as they are. But regardless, this is currently how CM is playing. Thank you so much for watching, and a very special thank you to all of our wonderful subscribers. We will see you in the next Dota 2 video.